Hello, my darlings. We're going to keep this party going by talking about S.5684 slash A.6543. This expands the definition of returnable bottles to include wine and liquor bottles. If you are just joining us, we are getting into the not 1, not 2, not 6, but 10 pieces of legislation that are currently floating about our governing bodies here in New York that will greatly impact those of us in the liquor industry. There's one ahead of us, and right now we're going to talk about a memo of opposition that was brought forth by the Metro Package Store Association, the New York State Liquor Store Association, as well as the Retailers Alliance. Before we get into this bill, I do need to talk about what this bill is referring to, and that is the Bigger, Better Bottle Bill. It is a movement that, while on the surface sounds lovely, because we all like the idea of recycling, there's just one little problem. New York, at this current moment of filming, does not have the infrastructure in place in order to support this legislation. So as I said to the people we spoke to, as well as to the people in our team the other day, it is the cart before the horse. The memo of opposition goes like this. Expansion of the bottle bill to include alcohol containers would present significant financial and compliance burdens for liquor stores. The New York bottle bill requires stores to accept returns of bottles they sell. For smaller stores with no separate space to store the returned bottles, retailers would be forced to store them on their selling floor. Returned bottles are often broken, dirty, sticky, smelly, and they attract ants, rats, and other animals. Additional staff would also be needed to manage the influx of bottles, and with the increased minimum wage, this would be an excessive financial burden on liquor store owners. Further, liquor bottles sold in New York State would be required to have a state-specific UPC code. This will require special handling that could conflict with the federal Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau requirements on labeling. This would also cause the undue burden on manufacturers that would be required to provide the special labeling for New York only. The vast majority of wine and liquor bottles are being recycled under the state's current recycling laws. Putting deposit on these bottles would not have a significant impact on the solid waste stream. Moreover, it would impose higher costs on manufacturers, retailers, and ultimately those costs would be passed down to the consumer in the form of higher costs for liquor and wine. The current law needs to be fixed before the state considers an expansion of the bottle law. Under the current system, retailers and redemption centers have experienced substantial challenges that will be exacerbated by adding additional types of beverages to the law. There is also a significant amount of fraud in New York's current system, including inflating bottle counts, accepting non-returnable bottles, reverse vending machine fraud, and cross-border schemes. We will talk about that in a second. Instead of rushing in to make piecemeal changes to a 40-year-old law, we recommend that New York conduct an in-depth study in an independent, neutral forum, such as the State Law Revision Commission, in which all stakeholders can participate and evaluate what works and what doesn't, examine what other states have done, and then determine what would make New York's Returnable Container Act work better and more fairly for consumers and businesses. For the above reasons, we urge you to vote against this bill to expand New York's bottle bill law until a comprehensive study can first assess and evaluate the current system. Okay, so what is a cross-border scheme? So this wouldn't impact me necessarily being in the state, I think, deep enough to not have this issue, but any liquor store that borders another state where they're either not returning bottles at all, or they are, but it's higher in our state. You have people that will bring bags and bags of bottles across state lines to get the money. I get why they do it, but the issue then becomes the store can't tell if they sold that bottle or another liquor store did, because we all sell the same product here. So they have a budget then, or would have a budget of, okay, if we sold this many bottles, then we should be expecting that many to come back. But then when 2 or 3 times that amount come back and they're bordering another state, that is what they are referring to as the cross-border scheme. We got to sit down with one of the underwriters of this bill, and we explained to the representative that, again, while we think recycling is fantastic and we're all for it as far as saving the environment, when you have pickup trucks, as far as the fleet trucks, that are then coming back to pick up the bottles that they sold to us, those trucks are running 2 or 3 times more than they need to. So there's more fuel being burned. There's more carbon emittance, that type of thing. And how do we figure out where the advantage is? Is there a true advantage of doing it? Because right now, if you have a glass bottle and there's no recycle thing on it, you're going to put it in your recycle bin, and then it goes out, and then they do what they do with it. But they want to take it out of the landfill and give you money back for it, except that a good chunk of it is still going to end up in the landfill because we don't have the infrastructure to deal with glass. There's cross-contamination in glass as far as if you get a light green and a dark green or a brown, whatever the case may be. And then where's that glass going? Is it going back to the manufacturer who made those bottles? A lot of those bottles are coming in from not just out of state, they're coming in from out of country. There are some absolutely huge glass bottle manufacturers, and I believe we've got China and India, I know, are 2 of the big ones. What are they going to do with it? They don't want it back. It's all done for them. This is another situation where it ain't broke. It's not. There's nothing to fix. Not only is there nothing to fix, but not enough research has actually been done in terms of a lot of these liquor stores that would be forced to take back their own bottles are tiny. They're little neighborhood stores. It's not, a personal wine cellar. It's not one of our big warehouse neighbors. We don't have the space for it. So, maybe they do, but I can't speak for them. I know we don't. Because we're a mid-size, and we just, where are we going to put it? How are we going to deal with it? We can't store it outside, because then you get somebody who breaks into it, steals the bottles, and then brings them back in again. And then how are you going to know if you already paid for it or not? You're going to mark the bottle? I don't think so. So I'm going to post the still so you can reach out to Senator May and Assemblywoman Glick, so that you can say, hey, you really do need to do more research. You need to talk to the places that it's going to affect and see what the actual logistics looks like. So again, we ask that you add your voice to ours. Even if you don't shop us, but you shop another liquor store, totally fine. The more the merrier, the more loudly we can speak up against these things that are coming at us in the legislature. Thank you.